You noble diggers, all stand up now.
There's the living proof, or it was living proof, that the Nobel Prize is not given to anybody except if they toe the line.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to my channel. Today, we are doing Adam Smith Part 2, Milton Friedman. I did the Adam Smith bit in response to a commenter who has not decided to lose gracefully. I posted a reply to his comment on that video that shows this new thinker that he points to. I thought we were talking about Adam Smith. I brought my copy of Wealth of Nations out. I quoted at length from the book. I showed you. I said, please read it again and get back to me. And he's like, well, what you didn't consider was Milton Friedman, right? Oh, how did I not think of that, right? No matter. We'll take his bad faith and we'll just destroy it too, right? I linked what I feel is a persuasive, maybe even a decisive defeat of Milton Friedman, which is Professor Richard Wolff and the deceased, rest in power, Michael Brooks, talking about a Milton Friedman clip, right? And the Milton Friedman clip it's pathetic, but I'm going to cut it in here and I'm going to address the arguments as they come by. Right? First, I just want to address Adam Smith, the commenter's argument that Milton Friedman is a Nobel laureate, so I trust him. And that's an appeal to authority, right? An appeal to unjustified authority, even some might say, right?
Was able to get the Nobel Prize and have many of his students also get the Nobel Prize because they were on the Nobel Committee that awarded the prizes to what they did. And it really shows you, as Marx once said, that the leading idea of any age are the ideas in the leaders of that age.
Because the Nobel Prize is a system of NATO, right, which is trying to project capitalism. And I would say back to you, right, that capitalism is empirically the worst system, right? Empirically. Okay, greed. The first point Milton Friedman says is there any society on earth that doesn't run on greed?
Well, first of all, tell me, is there some society you know that doesn't run on greed? You think Russia doesn't run on greed? You think China doesn't run on greed?
You think China doesn't run on greed? You think Russia doesn't run on greed? Pathetic. Of course, there is greed in those societies, but to say that they run on greed is just crazy. For example, you think Russia doesn't run on love? You think China doesn't run on love? Let's try that again. You think Russia doesn't run on honor? You think China doesn't run on honor? Let's try again. You think China doesn't run on magnanimity? You think Russia doesn't run on magnanimity? There are so many spiritual, emotional implications that push you forward in your life. You can't even recognize them within yourself. And that's the point of Richard Wolff and Michael Brooks. They call it the first noble truth of Buddhism, which is...
What in the world? Did he never understand psychology? For 100 years, psychologists have explained to us with empirical studies and theoretical work that human beings are bundles of contradictions, that what is my self-interest is something I only dimly perceive, and I want that, but I don't really. I went and I got that, and now I wonder, having consumed it, why did I ever do that? Because I didn't like it at all. We are not some kind of calculus machine.
This is the first noble truth of Buddhism.
Is correct, right? That you don't even know yourself, that you are a mystery to yourself, that desire is the state of all being, right? But that it recedes from you, that you can't even grasp what you desire or why you desire it, right? And so greed pushes, you're just ridiculous. You just don't even have an introductory understanding of psychology, sociology, anthropology. You're just a moron, right? You're a moron that's projecting that you like Adam Smith and now Milton Friedman. His next point is that these people who advance society don't come from the orders of a bureaucrat.
The world runs on individuals pursuing their separate interests. The great achievements of civilization have not come from government bureaus. Einstein didn't construct his theory under order from a bureaucrat. Henry Ford didn't revolutionize the automobile industry that way.
Great examples, perfect examples, in fact, because Einstein is working under the auspices of the Social Partei Demokratisch, which is the German Social Democratic Party, right? The premier socialist party in Europe up until World War I, right? That is who raised him. That's the system that brought him up, that made a Jew the foremost thinker of German thought ever, right? You tell me greed pushed that on? That Einstein was impelled by greed? Because you can read what Einstein was talking about, and he was impelled by wonder. He was impelled by curiosity. He was impelled by his own knowledge. And not because he wanted to hoard it, right? Because he was greedy for it, but because he wanted to share it. He wanted to understand, to be able to better communicate with his community, his global community, the one that he abandoned his people for, right? Not for greed, but for goodness. Stupid. Henry Ford, a little more difficult, right? Because Henry Ford is a greedy bastard, an anti-Semitic greedy bastard. Fun fact, when Henry Ford died and Henry Ford Jr. took over, there was no money in the bank, and all of the money was in the vaults of Henry Ford, because he didn't trust Jewish bankers. Sounds like Kanye West. Henry Ford, though. Henry Ford is operating in a different system. It is not the Social Partei Demokratisch, but it is the bones, the graveyard, the stomping ground of the Union, right? During the Civil War, productive forces were unleashed, right? They were directed, they were centrally planned, but given to corporations, right? A corporatism, a socialism that stops short of helping its people, right? Or choosing selectively who the people are. But to say that Henry Ford does it himself, right? He exists in this system. He exists in a system that exists to advance people with a name like Ford, right? Do you have to think very hard which tribe he's from? He's an Anglo, right? It's basic, right?
About that the evidence he used was the low profit rate, say, of airlines or of trains. And so, so I had to explain to my students that was the whole point. It's a subsidy of so that this.
His third point is that no system but capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty and immiseration in all of human history. Now,
In the only cases in which the masses have escaped from the kind of grinding poverty you're talking about, the only cases in recorded history are where they have had capitalism and largely free trade.
I can't tell by the grain of the film when he's actually recording this, but it looks like the 70s or early 80s. But it's even by then that's false, right? That obviously the Soviet Union has lifted more people out of poverty, right? That the 300 million, 290 million people that were lifted out of poverty by the collapse of the Soviet Union. But you know, that's then. Today, though, beyond dispute, Chairman Xi has lifted Chairman Xi and his predecessors, back to Deng, have lifted 800 million people out of poverty. 800 million. The incidence of global poverty is down by double-digit percentage points because of Xi Jinping and his command Marxist-Leninist communist government.
These are not complex ideas, but they're way beyond anything Mr. Friedman can manage. And
right? Tongzhimao. Finally, this is my own point. This is not something that Milton Friedman brought up, but I'm going to try and drive it into your head, right? Because you got to go read some more, man. You don't know enough. You're projecting. You're a little rich white boy who's working on daddy's money, and you haven't read enough arts, right? You got to go reread the canon, Plato to Derrida, maybe even Deleuze and Guattari, right? Go read. The USA didn't win the Cold War because of its ideology. It won in spite of it, right? It won because of its geography. America, the United States, has the best imperial strategic geography on Earth, right? It is a fortress protected by ocean moats on either side, with the best harbors in the world up either side, a river system through the Mississippi that provides the most food in the world, and also there are resources in abundance, oil, minerals, you name it, right? And so the USA was always going to win the Cold War, right? It would take a Nat 1, every president from Truman through to George H.W. to have America lose the Cold War. But now they're losing the second Cold War to China, even though the geography advantage over China is arguably even more significant than the geography advantage over the Soviet Union. But they won't develop their people. They keep neglecting resources that the noble class refers to as human farm stock or human capital stock, right? These people are coming out of a caste that is greed, right? That is greed incarnate. And because of that, they cannot direct the ship of state, right? There is this great clip I'm going to include here.
China is a market economy, and it's a vibrant market economy, but it is not a capitalist country. Here's why. There's no way a group of billionaires could control the Politburo as billionaires control American policymaking. So in China, you have a vibrant market economy, but capital does not rise above political authority. Capital does not have enshrined rights. In America, capital, the interest of capital and capital itself has risen above the American nation. The political authority cannot check the power of capital. And that's why America is a capitalist country, but China is not.
That the billionaires always direct policy in America, but the billionaires could never direct policy in China. For the billionaire class, the capital class, to succeed over the will of the Politburo, over the will of the Presidium, is unimaginable. That's also my defense of why the Soviet Union failed eventually too, is that Khrushchev was a Nat 1 role, that after Stalin, he was just so dumb that he managed to mess everything up. And also, I'm not a Stalinist, right? Nor am I a Marxist-Leninist. I'm a filthy Trotskyite and a syndicalist, which syndicalist is a French derivation of Trotskyitism. Adam Smith, I know you're having trouble keeping up. Anyways, but to respect Stalinism and its efforts, right? It did lift 100 million people out of poverty. It did beat Nazism, even though the imperialist West was trying to help Nazism defeat it. You're just wrong, man. You're just wrong. The most successful societies of the 21st and 20th century were communist, were socialist. It's that simple. Have a nice day. Hello, you've made it to the end of the video. Thank you. This channel has one mission: to prevent civilizational collapse associated with climate change, to prevent 100 million refugees by 2035, to stop 7 billion from starving to death by 2075. And we will do this through one main vehicle. We mean to unite the Anglosphere. We will do this by convincing the Commonwealth of His Majesty King Charles III to apply for statehood as one. And then with this new power, we will be able to negotiate in good faith with the rest of the world on how to tackle this crisis. Thank you and enjoy.